He's an interesting guy, man, because he's so friendly.
Right.
You know, like even like when people are trash talking, he's like smiling, and then he gets in that ring.
Kick your ass later.
Different steps to that roast. Like this is a whole different set of rules he's flying with.
I just want to say this to the world. It's amazing how a fighter can come from, I think, 108 all the way to 154 and knock out all these guys. To me, it's amazing.
Is Manny Pacquiao a man who has achieved godlike status in the world of boxing, on a collision course with a career-ending disaster? The whispers of a return to the ring are getting louder, but the opponent being named Mario Barrios isn't some hand-picked over-the-hill journeyman for an easy farewell. He's a younger, bigger, and profoundly dangerous welterweight in the prime of his life. This isn't just a comeback story, it's a potential tragedy waiting to unfold. And when you have two of the most powerful and respected minds in the entire fight world, Joe Rogan and Floyd Mayweather, analyzing a potential clash like this, you absolutely have to stop and listen, because what their combined perspectives would reveal is a terrifying, multi-layered truth hidden behind the curtain of a legendary comeback story. This goes far beyond a simple tale of an old lion testing his claws one last time. This is about the brutal economics of boxing, the unforgiving nature of time, and the complex legacies of two of the sport's most enduring figures.
Pacquiao obviously got power also.
Right.
You know, I've been in there with him.
Did you feel his power?
He's solid. He's solid.
Okay.
He's solid. Ain't nothing I ain't never felt before, but he's solid.
Right.
And he felt me too. That's why he wasn't quick to run in there.
Right.
So it's obvious we both felt we felt each other.
To begin, we have to understand that this isn't just a fight. It's a dangerous, almost reckless proposition. On one side of the tail of the tape, you have Manny Pacquiao, a living icon who will be in his mid-40s by the time the first bell could ring. On the other side, you have Mario El Azteca Barrios, a top 10 contender in his late 20s. The age gap alone is a chasm, representing nearly 2 decades of wear and tear of brutal training camps and of wars inside the squared circle. But the physical disparities are even more alarming. Barrios stands at 5'10", boasting a staggering 71-inch reach. Pacquiao, by contrast, is 5'5.5" with a 67-inch reach. That's a 4-inch reach disadvantage and nearly a 5-inch height difference. In boxing, a game of inches, that is a monumental gap to close. Think about what that means in practice. For Pacquiao to land a single punch, he has to navigate a minefield. He has to get past Barrios' long, educated jab, a weapon that can blind him, disrupt his rhythm, and keep him at a frustratingly safe distance for the younger fighter. Every single offensive burst from Pacquiao would require him to expend enormous energy just to get into range, while Barrios can touch him, hurt him, and control him from the outside. This isn't a classic 50-50 matchup between two fighters of similar stature. This is a physical mismatch that has seasoned experts and ringside doctors genuinely concerned. We've seen this movie before in boxing history. When an aging legend, reliant on speed and reflexes, faces a younger, bigger opponent, the results are often devastating. The size difference alone is a monumental red flag, creating a scenario where Pacquiao's legendary speed and God-given power could be completely neutralized before he even gets a chance to unleash them. But the physical statistics, as stark as they are, only tell a fraction of the story. To truly grasp the danger, we need to look at this potential fight through the eyes of a man who has spent his life analyzing the brutal realities of combat, Joe Rogan.
What's crazy about him is his calves.
Yeah.
When you look at
massive.
that, they're giant. Yeah. They're like a thigh.
And I know the reason why, because in General Santos, the mountains that he runs and that steep hill, that's why they're so big.
From Joe Rogan's perspective, this matchup would trigger primal fears, the kind he's voiced on his podcast for years. Rogan has always been a passionate student of the fight game, but he's also a stark realist about the brutal, unforgiving toll that combat sports take on the human body. He would likely frame his analysis not around Pacquiao's heart, which is universally acknowledged as unbreakable, but around the cold, hard science of aging. He'd talk about the decline in reaction time, the subtle loss of speed that only a world-class opponent can expose, and the terrifying erosion of a fighter's punch resistance. He would argue that while Pacquiao possesses a spirit that seems ageless, no fighter in the history of mankind has ever defeated Father Time. It's an undefeated, undisputed champion.
He won world titles in what, 8 divisions?
8 divisions, 13 or 14 world titles.
Crazy.
It will never be done again.
Rogan would probably draw parallels to other combat sports legends he's watched fade. He might bring up the tragic decline of Chuck Liddell in the UFC, a knockout artist whose chin suddenly vanished, or the final fights of Anderson Silva, a wizard of movement who became a step too slow. He'd see Pacquiao, a man who has absorbed an incredible amount of punishment over a multi-decade career spanning 8 weight divisions, stepping into the ring against a young lion who is bigger, stronger, and hungrier. Rogan's fear wouldn't be about Pacquiao's skill or his courage. It would be about the unforgiving reality of a younger man's power and durability against a legend who might be one clean punch away from a permanent, life-altering decline. He would talk about CTE, about the responsibility of a fighter's team and the sanctioning bodies to protect these warriors from themselves. He would see the romance of the comeback, but he would be haunted by the potential for a grim, irreversible outcome. And that's what makes this potential fight so damn scary from his point of view. It's not a sport. It's a high-stakes gamble with a man's health, and the house always wins. Now let's pivot from the primal fear of Joe Rogan to the cold, emotionless analysis of Floyd "Money" Mayweather. If Rogan sees the human tragedy, Mayweather sees a business transaction and a technical problem he's already solved. Floyd wouldn't waste a second on emotion or legacy. He'd look at this matchup like a mathematical equation. His breakdown would be a masterclass in boxing science, delivered with the detached confidence of a man who believes he perfected the sport. He would immediately point out that Pacquiao's entire style, the explosive blitzing attacks from unorthodox angles, relies on his ability to close the distance in the blink of an eye. And who was the master of controlling distance? Floyd Mayweather.
One of the best fighters I faced was Manny Pacquiao. He's a future Hall of Famer.
What the f is it about Manny, man? He just don't stop coming.
But you know me, I keep my distance because he's real short.
He would explain in meticulous detail how Barrios could adopt the very blueprint Floyd used to neutralize Pacquiao in their 2015 mega fight. Step 1. The jab. Mayweather would emphasize how Barrios' long, punishing jab would be the key to the entire fight. It's not just a punch, it's a tool to control everything. It would keep Manny on the outside, disrupt his rhythm, and force him to reset constantly. Every time Pacquiao would try to launch an attack, he'd be met with a stiff jab to the face or the chest, stopping his momentum cold. Step 2. The right hand. Floyd would explain how the straight right hand is the classic weapon against a southpaw. He'd detail how Barrios could time Pacquiao's lunges and fire that right hand straight down the pipe, a punch Manny might not see coming.
Sorry.
When I come and do an exhibition or come out and box and have some fun, I do it because I want to do it, not because I have to do it. Whereas Pacquiao, at his age, which is sad that he has to fight. You know, I'm financially set.
Step 3. Movement and clinching. Mayweather would highlight how Barrios could use lateral movement to avoid being a stationary target, and use his size advantage to clinch and tie Pacquiao up on the inside, frustrating him and draining his energy. Mayweather's analysis would be chillingly precise, a strategic dissection devoid of any sentiment. He would essentially be giving Barrios a public coaching session, suggesting that the blueprint to beat Manny Pacquiao has been written, tested, and proven effective. And Mario Barrios, with his height, reach, and solid fundamentals, has the perfect physical tools to execute that game plan to perfection. In Floyd's mind, it's not about heart or determination, it's about geometry and physics. And from his perspective, the math is heavily stacked against his old rival. He would present it as an open and shut case, a fight where the outcome is all but predetermined by the styles and the physical attributes of the two men involved. But even with all of that cold, hard logic, you can never, ever count out the Pacquiao anomaly. For his entire storied career, he has been the smaller man. He built a legacy, a legend, on defying logic and shattering expectations. This is the man who moved up through 8 different weight divisions, carrying his explosive one-punch knockout power with him every step of the way, a feat that defies physiological science. His career is a highlight reel of him dismantling bigger, stronger men who were supposed to walk right through him. Remember the destruction of Ricky Hatton? Hatton was the bigger man, the bully who was left twitching on the canvas. Remember the brutal beatdown of Miguel Cotto? Cotto was a fearsome welterweight champion who was systematically broken down and stopped. And who could forget the most extreme example, Antonio Margarito? Pacquiao gave up an astonishing 17 pounds on fight night, along with massive height and reach disadvantages, and proceeded to deliver such a savage, prolonged beating that it permanently damaged Margarito's eye. Pacquiao doesn't win these fights by accident. It's his unique, almost supernatural combination of blistering speed and concussive power, all delivered from the most bizarre and unexpected angles. His footwork is a masterclass in controlled chaos. He's never where you expect him to be, and the punches come in waves from all directions, overwhelming his opponent's ability to think, react, and defend. This is the great what-if of the equation, the X factor that Floyd's logical breakdown and Rogan's physiological fears can't fully account for. It's the one variable that keeps this from being a simple execution and turns it into a live, dangerous, and utterly compelling question. Could the anomaly strike one more time? And while we debate the legend, it is a huge, disrespectful mistake to think of Mario Barrios as just a generic, bigger, younger guy. He is not just a supporting actor in the Manny Pacquiao story. El Azteca is a legitimate, dangerous force in the welterweight division. This is a former WBA world champion, a fighter who has been in the ring with some of the best and proven his mettle. His professional record is filled with quality opposition, and he has demonstrated time and again that he has both the skill and the power to compete at the elite level. His loss to Gervonta "Tank" Davis, one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, was telling. Barrios was competitive, he was tough, and he showed that he belonged at that level even in defeat.
As busy as I've been in my career, the attributes I have, the skill set I have, the youth is on my side. So it's my job just to go in there, use all of that again, just make sure I still walk out holding that title.
Let's talk about his style. We mentioned his jab, but his signature weapon is his vicious, soul-stealing body punching. He digs into the ribs and the stomach with relentless thudding shots that drain an opponent's gas tank. For an older fighter like Pacquiao, a sustained body attack is poison. It saps the legs, it lowers the hands, and it makes a fighter feel old very quickly. Barrios isn't just some stationary target with long arms. He has good boxing fundamentals, he has composure under fire, and he possesses genuine knockout power in both hands. For him, this isn't about paying respect to a legend in the ring. This is a golden opportunity, a chance to catapult his own career into the stratosphere. Beating Manny Pacquiao, even a 45-year-old version, is a legacy-defining win. It puts his name in the history books forever. He has the power, he has the size, and he has the ruthless motivation to turn this dream comeback into an absolute nightmare for Pacquiao and his millions of fans. This brings us to a more cynical but necessary part of the analysis, the hidden agenda. When a figure like Floyd Mayweather breaks down this fight, is he truly being an unbiased, objective observer, or is there a deeper, more complex game being played? We have to consider the long and often bitter history between Mayweather and Pacquiao. Their rivalry defined an entire era of boxing. The build-up to their 2015 fight was filled with years of negotiations, accusations, and public posturing. After the fight, which Floyd won by a clear decision, the narrative was complicated by Pacquiao's claims of a pre-existing shoulder injury. For a man as obsessed with his legacy as Floyd Mayweather, a man who calls himself TBE, the best ever, any asterisk next to his defining victory is unacceptable.
Why not Floyd Mayweather? Why isn't he in the top 5?
Floyd Mayweather, he's running the whole 12 rounds and he won the fight.
So when he breaks down a potential Pacquiao-Barrios fight, is his analysis purely technical? Or is it a subtle strategic move to protect his own legacy? By highlighting Pacquiao's vulnerabilities and essentially predicting his downfall against a bigger, younger fighter, Floyd is reinforcing his own narrative. He's reminding the world that he was the one who cracked the Pacquiao code, that he was the superior boxer, and that any subsequent struggles Pacquiao has only served to prove his own greatness. The analysis is brilliant, there's no denying that. But the motivation behind it adds a fascinating layer of controversy that changes how you hear every single word. It becomes less of a simple fight breakdown and more of a calculated move in the long-running chess match between two of the greatest fighters to ever live, a match that continues long after they shared a ring.
His left hand was fast, his right hand was fast, and he was throwing them both fast and strong. But when it's all said and done, he was a beat fighter from round one. He knew it.
Beyond the fighters and the pundits, we have to look at the men in suits who would make this fight happen, the promoters. Boxing is a business, and sometimes it's a very dirty one. Why would a promoter risk putting a beloved global icon like Manny Pacquiao in such a dangerous fight? The answer, as it often is money and opportunity. A Pacquiao comeback fight is a guaranteed payday. It generates massive interest, sells tickets, and drives pay-per-view buys. But there's another, more strategic angle. Mario Barrios is aligned with Premier Boxing Champions, PBC, a powerful entity in the sport.
Oh, never. Like, I mean, right? Like those are fights you like you think about in your head as like a dream scenario. But yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah, like being a brown kid from San Antonio.
What better way to build their next star than to have him beat a living legend? A win for Barrios over Pacquiao would be a classic passing of the torch moment, instantly elevating Barrios to main event status and creating a new cash cow for the promotion. It's a high-risk, high-reward move. They would be gambling with Pacquiao's health and legacy, betting that the financial reward and the creation of a new star are worth the potential backlash if the fight ends badly for the Filipino senator. It's a cold, hard business calculation that often leaves the well-being of the fighters as a secondary concern. This creates a profound and deeply uncomfortable dilemma for the fans. The very people who have cheered for Pacquiao for decades are now faced with a conflicting set of emotions. There's the undeniable thrill, the nostalgic pull of seeing your hero lace up the gloves one more time. You remember the epic wars, the impossible victories, and you want to believe he can do it again. You want to see that explosive flurry, that dazzling footwork, and that humble smile in victory just once more. But underneath that excitement is a deep, gnawing fear. It's the fear of seeing him as a diminished version of his former self, a step too slow, a punch too late. It's the protective instinct that makes you want to shout at the screen, "Don't do it, champ. You have nothing left to prove." This internal conflict is what makes late-stage careers of great athletes so compelling and so heartbreaking. We, the fans, are caught between our desire for one last moment of glory and our fear of witnessing a tragic, unnecessary fall from grace.
Because you can apply that habit. You become a habit. When you start boxing, like...
Woo! Woo!
Like that.
The speed is still there. Woo!
So what are we truly left with when we strip away all the layers? On one hand, the cold, hard facts presented by brilliant boxing minds like Rogan and Mayweather, combined with the ruthless economics of the sport, paint a grim, almost predetermined picture. They show us a legend pushing his luck too far, a beloved hero being set up for a fall against a younger, stronger, and bigger opponent. It's a logical, evidence-based conclusion that points toward a sad ending.
I said it. I mean, it's kill or be killed. You know, I know. You know, like if he has been hurt at any point, you know, he's gonna be the same way. Like I said, you know, it's just my job, you know, just to work on everything. Me and my team have been, you know, training and drilling, you know, these last couple weeks, and, you know, finish off these next 6.
But on the other hand, there's the unexplainable, undeniable magic of Manny Pacquiao. There is the anomaly, a fighter who has spent his entire life as the underdog, as the smaller man, as the one who was counted out, only to prove the experts, the critics, and the doubters wrong time and time again. His entire career is a testament to the idea that some athletes can defy logic and bend reality to their will.
I never pick the easy fights. I choose the hard ones. I move up weight after weight, not to protect a record, but to test my limits. And now, when I look back, 8th division world champion, world titles in 4 different decades, oldest welterweight world champion in history. Those are not just opinions, they are facts. But greatness isn't what you call yourself. It is how you live your life and how you inspire others.
A fight against Mario Barrios wouldn't just be a boxing match. It would be a philosophical war. It would be a battle between legacy and reality, between the magic of the past and the harsh, unforgiving nature of the present.
You got a lot of slack for saying Manny Pacquiao is a better pound-for-pound fighter than Floyd Mayweather. I actually disagreed with you.
Pacquiao wasn't able to make flyweight. He was a flyweight who won the lineal championship. So if that's not the most, or one of the 2 or 3 most impressive things in the history of boxing, the fact that he could move up, give me an example of another flyweight who was the lineal champion, moved up, won a bunch of titles in between, and then was that good as a welterweight. Pacquiao won lineal titles, indisputable, that's the man who beat the man, or else putting belts together. No one had ever done it before, ever. A lot of great flyweights. No one ever did that. No one ever came close to dreaming about doing that, and then Pacquiao did it. So the fact that Pacquiao is even competitive with Floyd Mayweather, who's one of the greatest pure boxers ever, I really don't have a horse in the race.
And as the whispers grow louder and the possibility becomes more real, you have to ask yourself the ultimate question. Would we be witnessing the single greatest last stand in the history of sports? Or would we be unwilling spectators to the tragic final moments of a king who stayed on the throne for one fight too long? Hit that subscribe button on Knock Radar for exclusive fight rumors and the real stories behind boxing's biggest moments. Drop a comment below, we want to hear what you think.